What is good, everybody? Scoop family, Buckeye Nation. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good day, at work or at home or whatever you do at school. Hope it was a great day. Tuesday evening, one day closer to game day. Excited for another one. Listen, do us a favor, hit that like button, that little thumb you see, click that. Also, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Why not? You here every night, click that button, hit the bell. You'll get notifications when we go live. And also, understand that our super chats go to the pay it forward, which is military, first responders. We're going to take care of them because they take care of us. We're going to say that every night because it's very important to us. And we want you to understand that. But we're going to talk about a few things tonight, specifically recruiting strategy with the new NIL, world we're living in. Some things Ryan Day said in the press conference today, and some 5-star potential flips coming down the pike that some guys in the WAC feel like are strong chances, down the line. So anyway, listen, we're going to hop right into it. Nevada, what is up, brother? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. Another day that Ohio State is number one. Another
Yeah.
day as the defending national champion. The brand is strong. The NIL is strong. The game presentations are getting better, man. It is just a good time to be an Ohio State fan. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, man. And it's just sitting back, looking at the landscape of college football. Me and my guys earlier were talking like they released the odds, for to win the national championship. And right now, Ohio State is number one. And then I believe they had Penn State second, which was I was like, okay, really? And then Oregon third, I believe. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Ohio State plus 525, Georgia plus 600, Penn State plus 600, and then Texas, Oregon, LSU, Alabama. So, yeah, I mean, again, I said this yesterday, I believe, that Nevada, there have been some, and I'm not knocking y'all. I'm not knocking you. This is not an attack. But I do know there has been some who said 2026 is the year. Let's just have a good season this year and we'll build for 2026. Well, we're here now and we are very much in the hunt. We are very much, it's just as anybody, Nevada, to have an opportunity to hoist that trophy again this year with the talent that we have. And, and the fact that these kids are going to get better and better. So hold on to your butts, people. You might not have to wait to 2026 because we're going to be right there in the thick of things and in the playoffs and all that, Nevada.
Well, I mean, if you think about the two biggest question marks, I mean, look, you always have question marks, but in my opinion, the two biggest question marks about the team were defensive line or defensive play in general, but defensive line in particular, and Julian Sane. I mean, I think people like this hadn't seen him, wanted to
Yeah.
see him, heard a lot of good things about him, want to see it on the field, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the defense, the Matt Patricia defense has been everything that we thought it would be. And the way that they've chosen to confound quarterbacks, hide their blitzes, bring pressure different ways, make up for the fact that they don't have a dominant edge rusher or whatever it might be. But I think the defense has answered most of the not all of them, most of the questions. And I think Julian Sane is everything we wanted him to be and
Yeah.
more. And so, I was certainly one of the ones saying, "Hey, 2026 is going to be an epic year." But if when you have questions answered like that as early as they've been, why not 2025? You look around the college football landscape. There's no great teams out there, and it used to be you'd always look out there and there's an Alabama or
Right.
whomever ready to go, and and that's a nice segue into our topic. Like,
Yeah.
who's the new Alabama? Who is the new king of college football? Who's ascended to that throne? And what does that mean? What are the attendant things that come along with being the king of college football? Well, the king of college football is the Ohio State Buckeyes. I mean, we're the strongest brand, we're the ratings monster, we're the place where the best defensive player in America plays, the best offensive player in America plays, the best coach in America is the defending national champion. I mean, we're it, and and you just gave off the odds of the other teams to play. It's Oregon, nice team, great players, great support by Nike and stuff like that. But we kind of put them in their place last year in the Rose Bowl. Um, Penn State, we'll see. And I've got a lot to see for the Penn and Georgia, which I mean, Georgia's obviously really good, won some stuff, but Kirby, I just feel like they've slipped a notch. And I feel like Ohio State's kind of upped their game, up the quality of their brand, and they're there. And we've been telling you guys, well, what does that mean? Okay, so Ohio State's going to be there. Well, what does that mean? Well, Ohio State is adopting a lot of the tactics that Nick Saban used to become such a juggernaut. The fact that Ohio State is overpaying or over investing in assistant coaches, quality control analysts, building their staff in terms of doing the things that they're doing with that. The fact that you've now got your coach where you're moving guys around and changing coordinators and hoping not to miss a beat, and you're able to move from a Jim Knowles to a Matt Patricia. That was a Nick Saban special for years
Yeah.
and years and years where he would do that. But one of the other things that Nick Saban used to do that would used to always frustrate me as a fan would be you'd be sitting there a couple of months before signing day, and Alabama would be sitting at 11 or 12 or 8 or 9 or whatever it was in the recruiting rankings, and you're like, wow, man, they're having a hard time recruiting. And then at the end of the thing, all of a sudden, flip, 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 grab, 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 and all of a sudden, bang, number one, number two, and you're like, wow, where do they come? But their strategy was to wait to deploy, the full weight of Alabama. And at the time, that wasn't always necessarily above board NIL resources, but it was resources to these potential recruits, and they just found it had a greater impact at the end of the cycle than it did at the beginning of the cycle. And that is a tactic that Ryan Day and the Ohio State that is a decision that they've made to use that in the 2025 recruiting cycle for the 2026 class. And we've been telling you guys about this, but Ryan Day even said it in a press conference. Ryan Day actually said the words, and you go listen to the words and you put it in the context of what we've been talking about. He's like, I fully expect this class. Let's see how this class looks in December. I fully expect this class to be a top class. Dot dot dot. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means they're going to save their highest and best NIL offers for those kids that maybe they weren't as competitive on NIL resources as they needed to be. They're going to save that for a last pitch and move that. And so you say, well, who could that be? Like what commitments could that be? And you look around and you go, well, could it be a Braylon Womack, a guy that I know you're a guy that was one of your maybe number one on your board,
Yeah.
on the D
Yeah.
Moses board. Maybe that's a guy you come back at, with maybe the Samote Katawanga guy from the USC commitment
Yeah.
right now. Luke Waffle, another guy that we came very close to getting the first time around. That could be a guy where there's continuing conversations. It's crazy as it sounds. Elbert Hill, the cornerback out of Holman. I mean, you just never. The point is, you don't know who's going to come circling back to Ohio State when they come back with their highest and best offers. But expect Ohio State to finish really strong in 2026. You're getting a glimpse of that. Ryan Day is foreshadowing it. We've been telling you this was a decision made between President Carter, Ross Bjork, Ryan Day, Mark Biancardi, the recruiting staff. They're going to finish strong with their NIL offers. The NIL program at Ohio State is strong. The brand is strong. They're willing to do this. So watch how this class finishes. But this class will not look completely different at the end than it does right now. Mark it down. Hold me to that.
Yeah. And let me give y'all a visual because we've been talking about the Ryan Day having the Bruce Leroy glow. Well, this is my little meme. This is a visual of Ryan Day after winning the Natty, ripping off four straight against top 10 teams and just emerging victoriously, emphatically. So this is the Bruce Leroy Ryan Day, and it's not just on the field. The glow is the overall glow, every aspect of what comes with a program, and that includes recruiting. Listen, Ryan Day has made, how, you may speculate or, you can just kind of deduce that, hey, we're going down this pathway, the Alabama. No, Ryan Day has been very clear. He has mentioned it in interviews of how Alabama and Nick Saban has operated. So it's not a secret. When we say the Alabama, like Ryan Day has said it. So the blueprint has been laid out, and he's following it to a T. Nevada kind of gave you some of those details by talking about, hiring all these line coaches, all these assistants, quality control coaches with great experience. And so far, it's went over well with a lot of the players, specifically the O line. You've heard the O linemen in interviews just gush about how it's amazing to have like 3 line coaches that can give you different aspects of the game, but they're all in unison. I mean, all of that. So anyway, getting to the recruiting point of it is that yes, I was watching the press in Nevada, and I kind of took notes to paraphrase what he was saying, and he was saying it really comes down. He said it really comes down to once you get to December, right? That's what's going to matter, is what he said. That's a direct quote. He said, guys go one place, then things change. Ryan Day did not come out flat. This is the interpretation of what he said. These guys flip all the time now in this new NIL world. It really comes down to December. What are guys going to really do then? And then we'll be right there to make a push. He said we're going to make a strong push. That's a direct quote. And so Nevada's right. Ryan Day basically said it in a coach speaky way that we're not done. And we're going to go after them full force, Alabama style, NIL. But because here's the thing, Nevada, that I don't think people are really mentioning is that during recruiting, coming off of a season, going into the summer, right? A lot of kids, they commit June, July, they announce because they want to get that over with before the season starts. But remember, a part of this recruiting from these schools like Auburn and these schools who are just, no disrespect, Auburn fans, but you're not Ohio State. Okay. You got a nice program, SEC, whatever, but you're not Ohio State. But here's the thing. They can recruit these kids and make promises for the immediate future of what's going to happen with their program and get them excited. And there's a level of, hey, maybe this is a good thing. But what happens, Nevada, and everyone listening, the season plays out. And you start seeing on the field the actual reality check of what the program is and the possible trajectory of it. So you're comparing these schools, these lesser schools that you took more money from because you saw dollar signs instead of taking the better situation with the higher upside financially, NFL wise, career wise, family wise, everything. And now you're thinking Ohio State, they're just same old consistent Ohio State. They're putting another load of guys in the NFL again. They're in the playoffs again. They look great on the field. Matt Patricia is doing amazing things with Caleb Downs. Why wouldn't I want to go there and be developed more and also be placed in a market? I might get a little less coming in, but the upside is going to be tremendous in Columbus versus whatever little college town I will be going to. All of those things matter. And this staff, Ryan Day, Bjork, all of them, Ted Carter, they understand this. They've studied Alabama. They're following the blueprint. And Nevada is spot on. And so we're going to see. This class is not finished. It's not over. And I'm excited to see who comes coming back, Nevada.
Well, I think you make a great point. I mean, and it's really one of the biggest points in this whole thing is the 2025 season is upon us. And if you're Vernell Brown, for example, and you committed to Florida, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you see Florida, the
Yeah.
dumpster fire like that, and you're like, what in the world did I just do? You know what I'm saying? But that describes a lot of programs. That describes a lot of places, or places that just aren't Ohio State. And so
Right.
if you're, I mean, Nebraska's great, but if you're Danny Odom and you're like, hey, I can go to Ohio State, or I got to play at Nebraska. Which one are you going to go to? You know what I'm saying? Like Auburn. How's Auburn going to do this year? Not sure. You know what I'm saying? But there's lots of programs that are kind of hemorrhaging. Kind of Michigan. And Michigan's a program that came with lots of things. After they lose 5 games again this year,
Right.
like how people are going to be like, wow, Michigan's really on this renaissance. Well, 8-5, 8-5, or whatever the heck they're going to be. How's that going to play? So you just got to watch those schedules, because Ohio State is overachieving expectations. I don't. I think even for us, and we're big time fans of Ohio State. Um, you know, I wouldn't say we're homers, but we're pretty close to being homers. And we're big fans.
Yeah.
But they've overachieved my expectations. I mean, I didn't expect them. I mean, I thought the Texas game was going to be I mean, and it was a close game, but I just feel like we're better. And I did not feel like I'd be sitting here 2 weeks into the season going, man, we're clearly the best team in college football right now. I did not expect to be in that position. That doesn't mean we're going to win them all. That doesn't mean we're going to win the national championship. I've said it a million times. You need to have a lot of luck and stuff like that. But man, I look around and I'm like, I don't see any juggernaut, and I think the juggernaut's us. I mean, we are the juggernaut. We are the boogeyman. We are the Baba Yaga. And so, it's kind of interesting, as we kind of sit here and how that plays out in recruiting, because when you have a game against Texas and it gets 16 million viewers and it's the largest opener in the history of college football, it's crazy. And our game atmosphere is so good. Our coaching staff is so stable. Our coach is young. He's
Yeah.
45 years. He's not. I mean, he's the furthest thing away from the hot. Whatever there's the hot seat and then the cold seat. Whatever the coldest seat is in college football, that's the seat that Ryan Day's on right now, because
Yeah.
he's the defending national champion. He has shut up everybody. He's won 6 straight games against top five opponents, and I don't think anybody questions his ability to get it done. I think that the biggest threat with Ryan Day eventually is going to be the NFL. I think we all know that. But yeah, that's not an. I don't think that's an immediate thing. I don't think that's a next few years thing. Maybe that's a 6, 7 years thing down the road. But right now, for kids that are going to come and go and live and die and go for college football, they don't have to worry about it. That, and that's a rare situation, because so many coaches in college football are one loss away to their rival, or one more bad season away from being gone. And we're, again, very fortunate that we're not in that situation. And I think for Ohio State right now, you've got Brian Hartline, who's just stepped in as offensive coordinator, so he's not in danger of leaving. You hope Patricia stays around, but if they lose him, I have no doubt that Ryan Day would go out and get another guy. He'll go out and get
Yep.
he'll swing big and get another Matt Patricia type, because I think he's kind of seeing that that's kind of the meta. That's how you kind of go about and do this, and you just keep upgrading every time you're going around. But I love the strategy. When I first heard that that's what they were doing, um, I was excited about, but I wanted to see it in action. And like I said, it is fun to hear public declarations of exactly what you've been hearing in private. And because when Ryan says something like that, that's not a throwaway line. That's not just I mean, he said that with a purpose. He said that with a meaning. And I think for Ohio State, for you not to believe that, what you'd have to believe is that the Ohio State brand is tarnished, or that Ohio State is broke. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I don't think no reasonable person can really be led to make an argument on either one of those things, because I mean, I can't remember ever in my lifetime the Ohio State brand being stronger than it is right now. I mean, we have a perfect APR. We have a perfect academic progress report, higher than Harvard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like the stuff that we used to worry about, the Reggie Germany zero point 0.0 GPAs, or
Right.
the
Right.
off field problems or something like. I mean, our program is just a knock on wood, but it's just devoid of any of that nonsense. And it's like, I mean, how good is that to be in that situation where you've got smart kids, you've got responsible kids, you've got kids that are good in the community, and then just unbelievable football. And this is a year after we sent 14 guys to the NFL. So, I mean, like I said, I couldn't be more excited about it. But it's going to be really fun to see who jumps on board come December time, and who Ohio State's going to kind of move in on, because the guys that I named, there's still communication and conversation going on with those guys, and that's usually a pretty big tell. We'll see how that plays out in December, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I mean, honestly, Ohio State football consistently reminds their fans of who they are. Okay. Now, me personally, I tend to cling to what I'm seeing and the facts and consistency, maybe more than the average fan, just because that's just how I am. If you show me something for so long, I'm going to believe it. And so with Ohio State football, I think they just consistently remind not only their fans, but the country of who they are. And this is another one of those years. I was watching, just for example, I was watching a reel because Nevada, you mentioned that, you were watching preseason lists talking about Ohio State's line was going to be They weren't even ranked high or whatever. And on the flip side, I was watching a reel where there was some guy. He wasn't a Buckeye fan. It was just college football dude, and he was basically publicly apologizing because he had Ohio State's defense being, bad because they saw how many players we lost. And of course, also the Matt Patricia hire, people were questioning that hire, even Buckeye fans. So now they're seeing the product on the field so far. And that Texas game on that stage was amazing for recruiting. Don't think it wasn't, y'all. Do not think that was not a big deal. It was. And so, that's eye-popping stuff when you see when recruits see that. So anyway, what I'm saying is Ohio State football will remind you of who they are. They're the most consistent program. The only one that has this is Alabama because they have more titles, but they still don't have the consistency of being good every year. They just, with Saban, they were able to rip off more titles. And so I try to remind fans of that so much. And people wonder where my confidence come from, like where I'm just always so confident in Ohio State. And even with fellow Buckeye fans, Nevada, it's like I'll just say, hey, I'm not as concerned about XYZ, and they are. And usually I come out correct. Not because I'm just some savant, it's just because the track record of Ohio State says that we can believe they're going to get over the hump or get through or still be elite. Again, Michigan fans and haters were calling 3, 4, 5 losses this year because we lost so much talent. And I'm just like, hold on now. We still got a lot of talent. We still Ohio State. So you mentioned saying earlier with how great he's looked. And his back has not hit the turf yet, correct? He has not been sacked, right, Nevada, before I go on? Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we understand Grambling is not going to sack him most likely, but Texas has a first round draft pick and a really good defense and fast linebackers. He's untouched. So Julian Saying is the real deal. He's going to continue to show you that because you still got fans saying, "Oh, it's just Grambling," and he wasn't good against Texas. No, he was good against Texas. He was held back against Texas, and he had 4 drop passes. So Julian Saying is him, and he'll continue to show that in these upcoming games. And then these recruits are going to continue to take notice. Not only that, Nevada, you mentioned if we lose Patricia, not only will recruits take notice about what we're doing in our program, but coaches will take notice to see the trend, just like they saw the trend with Saban in Alabama, to say, you know what, I could take this head coach job at this little school here, or I could go be the DC at Ohio State and get a fast track back to the NFL. They see the pattern. And so Patricia already in 2 weeks has silenced the doubters. Do we have a long season left? Yes. Can he, have a game where it's like, dang, that wasn't the best Patricia game? Sure, maybe. No one's perfect. But so far, people are believing who weren't believing. So that's just me saying we are a well-oiled machine, y'all. And so Buckeye fans who wring their hands about certain things, I just don't get it because nobody has the consistency that we have. And you're right, Nevada. I've been at this a long time. We've had some good teams, some good times, but the overall culture right now with the coach we have, the coaching staff, the adjustments they're making, I haven't seen anything better. And that's why I'm just so excited, y'all. I'm literally beaming with excitement right now, sitting back, looking at this season and beyond. And it's just amazing. Amazing.
Well, and I think you're let's talk about Alabama just for a second because Alabama has been amazing under Saban,
Yeah.
but if but it was Saban, like you said. Well, Ohio State, we were able to run from Tressel to Urban Meyer. I mean, with a season interruption, but basically Tressel, Meyer, Ryan Day. So 3 different coaches, all 3 guys win national championships. All three
Yeah.
guys, able to win big games, continue the trajectory of the program. Turns in it. I mean, Alabama. I mean, between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, they went Ray Perkins, Bill Curry, Gene Stallings, Mike DuBois, Dennis Francione, Mike Price, Mike Shula, Joe Kynes, and then they got to Nick Saban. That's how many coaches they had to get there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so they've kind of been a one-trick pony. Now they're Kalen DeBoer, and you know what? They ain't Alabama anymore.
Right.
They ain't. Kalen DeBoer is going to get fired. I mean, you talk about a guy that's, on the hot seat, he's going to be fired. So, like for Ohio State, man, I'm not saying you can throw anybody in there, but they've done a really good job of continuing thing with three very different guys. I mean, Jim Tressel, kind of the unknown, from Youngstown State, got the local legend. Urban Meyer, obviously, you know, Urban Meyer, and then Ryan Day, who, frankly, like I said, when Ryan Day was hired by Urban Meyer, nobody had ever heard of Ryan Day before.
Yep.
No one. And dude, I do this for a living. I do this for a living. BMOs, I had never heard of Ryan Day. I've never heard of
Yeah.
the name. I had
Yeah.
never heard of him. And like in all the years of watching football, the two were Ryan and Day coming together had never even entered across my radar. That's how of a out of the guy that was. So, and he wins a national championship at Ohio State on top of that too. So yeah, I mean, Ohio State's got so many different paths to victory. I always look for what's the path to victory, but we can do it a lot of different ways with a lot of different types of coaches, a lot of things. I mean, Alabama was Nick Saban. They were the cult of personality of Nick Saban, who was an unbelievable coach and had it, but he made it look easy, but it wasn't. And now with Kalen DeBoer in there, it ain't going on anymore. My point on that is, well, then who's going to be the king of college football? And it's got to be Ohio State. Ohio State's got to be the king of college football. And one of the spoils, to the victor belongs the spoils, is recruiting. Recruits want to play there. Recruiting madness, recruiting flips, bringing guys in at the last minute. That's the thing. I think that's what's going to be part of Ohio State's new strategy, and I'm excited for it because it's just we've always been a late or not a good finisher. We've always been, you didn't look forward to signing day. You didn't look forward to the end of the project. You hope to get a good class and then kind of hang on. It's going to be different, man. So as an Ohio State fan, I'm just telling you, change your expectations about this because I think Ohio State's going to start closing strong, just like Alabama used to do it. And that's something that we've never really seen before from the Buckeyes.
Yep. Get ready, get ready, get ready. I mean, that's it. And like we've been saying, I know this whole NIL thing has still been an adjustment period. I think some of the nervousness and anxiety is just wondering what's going to happen. Like, are we going to be swept up in the new NIL world and just dial back to the 17th, ranked recruiting class? And this whole time, I'm just like, I understand there's questions. You want to see some things develop to kind of, make you feel a little better. I'm not knocking that, having questions about recruiting, because it's just a new world right now. But this goes back to my confidence in the program and the consistency of Ohio State, is that kind of really calmed me. It has calmed me through this. Again, we have a recent reference point when the first NIL, changes start coming in, and Ohio State was not quick to throw bags at kids, and the Texas A&Ms and Miamis and all those schools did, and we saw what happened with that. And we kind of stepped back, then we kind of adjusted, and then we were good. And so we have reference points from recency, and we have reference points from this overall track record to make us feel confident. And then again, like what we're hearing from what's going on inside and the approach, and then Ryan Day kind of leaking it out in the presser today, kind of articulating what we've been here behind the scenes. It's just another reassurance that Ohio State's not going to back off. We're going to do what we need to do to keep this train rolling within the means of how we see it. Because one thing Ryan Day did add in the presser, Nevada, and everyone, is he still emphasized at the end of his spiel that they're still going to go after kids that are good fits. So he's not just saying, oh, we're just going to go in on people between now and December, just throw money at them. No, they're going to circle back and then come at them at the end, maybe another offer along with the, hey, you see what's going on right now with the school you're committed to, not so hot, but you see what we're doing, right? We're showing you we're still consistent. By the way, here's an up on your offer and some other things we want to talk to you about. It's going to be that type of thing. So the principle of making sure we have the right culture is still in play, but the Alabama late surge, use our power, our brand, our consistency to come in and just kind of say, yo, you need to roll with us, is definitely in play. And I'm definitely excited about it. And so, again, we're just, like Nevada has said before, We're not sunshine pumpers. We're weather forecasters. We're telling you what the weather forecast is going to be or what it is, right, Nevada?
Yeah, well, no doubt. And I think this impacts not just high school kids, but it's the portal thing. I mean, they talked about the portal thing as well.
Yeah.
There's a move to change to one portal season as opposed to a couple different windows. But what they're talking about is right in the middle of the college football playoff, which doesn't make. I mean, do these people like think this stuff out or whatever? I mean, I
Clearly
understand
they
there's
don't.
some challenges about this stuff, but like,
Yeah.
I think Ryan pushed back on that today. But nobody's played the portal better than Ohio State. I'm not saying other people haven't played it as well, but nobody's played it better than we have. I mean, the guys that we've added have been impact guys. We don't win the national title last year without our portal kids, and so that's got to continue. But you know and when you first heard that they were going to do it one portal window and it's going to be, January 4th through January 10th or whatever it is in the middle, what were your thoughts on that, B? Like, isn't it? I mean, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. 'Cause I'm looking at it, I'm like, do they not realize that's right in the middle of the college football playoff? How is that supposed to work?
Yeah. I just thought it was ridiculous. I mean, it was already Ryan Day has been very clear about this. And listen, he wasn't whining last year. He had a fair point. Remember, they're getting ready to play games. And, you know, you got the transfer portal stuff going on, and schools are allowed to come in and pillage their players, but they really didn't have time to go do that themselves because they're prepping for games. It's just people need to sit down, use common sense, think it through because this is just ridiculous. And so it baffles me, Nevada, that some of these people are supposed to be the most educated, sharpest, in the know people, but they're still getting it wrong. I don't get it. Yeah, so that's what I thought. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Well, yeah, it seems crazy, and I understand there's some challenges with some schools are on quarter systems, some schools are on semester systems, look, I get all that, but there has to be a better way to do it than to do it right. And I mean, you're going to have kids transferring in the middle of the college football play. I'm not saying they could go and play somewhere, but I mean, how disruptive that would be, especially if you're a guy that's, an occasional player or a fringe guy or a, kind of contributor, a backup quarterback, I mean, whatever it might be, you know, I just I don't know. Like I said, I'm flabbergasted. I like the idea of trying to standardize it. I like the idea of less portal windows than more because I think that the idea that you've got this uncontrolled free agency in college football, I don't think it's healthy for the sport. I really don't. I think of it like if you're an NBA fan or an NFL fan or Major League Baseball fan, and every player could be a free agent at any moment and move to another team. I don't think that's not good. I mean, you like the NBA. Would you love it if every player every year could just be like,
Heck no.
I'm gonna go join this team and be on this super team this year and I'll be on that super team next year. I'd be like, what? I mean, I like the idea of roster management, roster construction, drafting, building teams. With college football through the portal, through your high school thing, doing the whole thing, developing players. And I just think that you've got to kind of standardize that, but you can't do it in the middle of I mean, like right smack dab in the middle of the college football playoff. That just makes no sense to me. I don't even know what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, Day in his presser today, he said that, most, and I was thinking to myself, like, all of the coaches should agree with this. But, I guess some of the coaches, maybe they're not affected because they're just not going to be a playoff team. Maybe they're just thinking from a standpoint of, hey, we're not going to the playoffs. So,
Exactly, exactly.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdue might be like, hey, why do I care? But Ryan Day is like, huh? Like, this is important. So, and he also mentioned, talking to Petiti about it as well. So, he's a strong voice. So I'm sure the other strong voices in the conference will really try to push back and get this right. But they definitely got to get this right. Because it's just not sustainable, in my opinion. But one other thing, kind of semi-related, we're talking about the playoffs and going through the whole recruiting and portal window stuff. One thing I'll just mention is that Ryan Day has a great advantage because he is one of the only few coaches that actually went through the grind of a full 12 team playoff season, Nevada. So not only do you have a motivated coach who has the Bruce Leroy glow, okay? This is Ryan Day currently right now somewhere in his house. This is what he's doing. This is what he looks like right now. Okay? Not only do you have that, but what comes with that is the experience to know what it takes to get through that grind. Okay. And you got the best player on defense in Caleb Downs and the best player in Jeremiah Smith and some new players emerging and a great quarterback who's only going to get better in this landscape. That is an advantage. And again, y'all, this is why I'm so excited. I'm always excited as a fan because Ohio State is dope. We dope. Like we are Ohio State. But like Nevada said, coming into this season, not knowing what to expect, playing number one team Texas with a young team, not knowing what to expect with the defense. Although we told you be excited about the defense, we told you that. And Patricia, now we're in a position where we're looking at the landscape, and nobody out there is scary. And talking to Funky Buck the other day, he said we're trying to figure out who's the boogeyman. He said we're the boogeyman. I mean, now listen, we got to go out there and show and prove, but I have the utmost confidence that we will. But my point is that Ryan Day, we are in a great position with Coach Ryan Day, his vision, his foresight, his experience, his ability to get off the mat in a fashion that we haven't seen. And now he's leading the charge in the second year of the 12-team playoff with the experience of what it takes to get there. That is an amazing advantage, in my opinion. Do you think I'm overselling that advantage, Nevada?
No, I think it's an important point, and I think it's what's interesting to me is just that kind of the juxtaposition of how Ryan Day was this complete unknown, who we both agree that when he got hired, neither one of us had heard of. Okay, and now, I mean, he's like the elder statesman for college
Yeah.
football. You know what I'm
Overnight.
saying? Overnight, it's like he's the guy. Like look around and kind of go, well, he's like the spokesperson for college football. And you're like, well, who else could it be? I mean, Kirby Smart, maybe. Dabo's really fallen off.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer's the next coach. Nick Saban's the next coach. Um, Coach Prime. No, nobody. I mean, it's Ryan Day. Ryan Day's the guy that's got to give his thoughts on the transfer portal. Ryan Day's got to be the guy that's got to give his thoughts on NIL, the extended season, the wear and tear, playing a 16, 17, 18 game season. What's it like? And he's one of the few people that's had the experience of doing the whole thing. So I just think that's what's so fascinating to me about Ryan Day is that um, he was a guy that a lot of people, this isn't a criticism, this is just an observation, that a lot of people wanted to have fired last November, that a lot of people wanted to be gone. And now we're sitting here talking about him, you know, 8 months later, 9 months later, as like the standard bearer for college football, like the guy for college
Yeah.
football. And I don't know if I've ever seen such a big reversal of fortune with a coach like ever in my life. I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable when you think about it. And I think it's kind of a cautionary tale, especially for Ohio State fans, because man, we have high expectations. We eat our own. We're tough, but
Yeah.
it's just like, man, sometimes you got to take a step back, look at the big picture, take a deep breath, and kind of see where we're at. And Ryan is a guy that, yeah, he was close, and I believe all these games that you look at, and all these games, all the games he's lost, he's only lost like 9 games or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, for lack of a field goal against Georgia in 2022, we have the national championship that year too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like he's been right there. We were one pass away against Michigan with Kyle McCord as our quarterback. We were, I mean, there's been so many times where we've been right there on the doorstep. And sometimes, look, you play basketball, sometimes the ball just doesn't go in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you choked or whatever it is. It's just you could shoot the same shot 25 times, and sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because
Yeah.
what's the difference between the ball going to the hoop and not? Like an eighth of an inch, a 16th of an inch. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like that's the difference between, oh, you're clutch, or oh, you're a hero, or oh man, you choked, man, you're a goat. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that I always try to, instead of looking at those one little things, those one little sample size, I try to take a step back and look at the big picture in terms of stuff. And Ryan Day's a guy that, he's going to have to lead college football out of the wilderness, and also because these are very complicated issues. And these are issues that, with all due respect, that Urban Meyer never had to deal with. Jim Tressel
Right.
never had to deal with. And
Yeah.
then Nick Saban, when he first started had to deal with this, you know what he did? He got out of college football. He got out of
Yeah.
coaching because he don't want to deal with it anymore. So it's like, man, he is navigating stuff that nobody's ever had to do before, and doing a terrific job in terms of doing it. And we're just so fortunate to have him as our head coach, and that, to hear. But so when he talks about this stuff, you do well to listen to him, because I think he does kind of foreshadow, what their strategy is, what stuff that is they want to get done, what stuff's important to him, because he realizes his voice has weight, and it carries some influence.
What you got to say about that, Ryan? I'm excited. Let's go. Sorry, no. But but no, you're right. And listen, he is. I don't want to sound like I'm attacking, but I will say this. Look, I'm not mad at some of y'all for wanting Ryan Day fired after the Michigan game. I didn't agree with it, but I wasn't just like, man, y'all tripping. I was just, I kind of got it. But to me, I will take pride in the fact that I did not do it. And I was being pressured. People who follow me on social media, and just people like, man, now you got to do it. You got to call for his head now. And I refused. I refused. I said, you know what? Let's wait till this Tennessee game. This is literally it. This is it. I'm not saying he would have absolutely been fired after the Tennessee game. I don't know that. But I know that seat would have been hot. And so I was willing to wait until the Tennessee game to see what he was made of in the ultimate get off the mat situation. And that man got off the mat, in an amazing fashion. So I never called for his head ever. And I'm glad, because to me, I did that because he earned the right to give, for me as a fan and as a supporter and as a college football analyst, to give him that game to respond. He earned that over the years with everything he did with the on the field, the culture, all of that. And so I'm glad he proved a lot of people wrong and proved me right. And so, to Nevada's point, 45 years old, he's kind of in that in between, Nevada. He's not the old, crusty Nick Saban or even Urban Meyer with the old school. I ain't dealing with this NIL stuff. Y'all bugging. But he still has the wisdom from those guys, but has the youth and the want to be able to kind of suffer through the NIL, or I want to say suffer. That sounds negative, but to navigate through the NIL. Remember, this man had to navigate through COVID and got us a big win, a big clap back against Clemson, and that whole thing, man. Ryan Day, all of that stuff. That, don't forget 2020, y'all. The COVID, that was huge for our program. To be able to get out there and play, beat Clemson, and get that monkey off our back. So, yeah. Anyway, not belabor the point. Very, very happy that we have Ryan Day as a coach. To me, yes, you can give Kirby Smart, like it's him and Kirby because he has ships, and I give that to him. But give me Ryan Day every day and twice on Sundays, Nevada.
Well, especially with the problems going on in the Georgia program right now. I mean, like,
Yeah,
holy guacamole! Like every time you turn around, there's another incident going on down there, and we take that for granted for as Ohio State fans now, just because we've just had so few problems. But you remember, it wasn't always that way, man. Sometimes during the offseason, I'd be afraid to, every day you're like just hoping to get through the thing without another problem. But I mean, that's what
yeah,
Georgia is. Every single day, it's another issue with those guys. And I think I really do. And from talking to people that I know down there in Georgia, I really think Kirby is kind of done with this. I really do. I think Kirby's going to move on. I think Kirby's going to move on to the NFL.
NFL. Okay,
I think he's
okay.
going to move on to the NFL. I just think, He's won multiple national championships down there. It's kind of like a been there, done that thing. And I
Yeah,
think you're seeing him kind of lose control of the program this way just because he doesn't give a hoot. And I'm not saying he doesn't care about his reputation, this and that, but sometimes like it's like when you're a job and you're kind of like ready to move on, you
yeah,
stop paying attention to the little details. You know what I'm saying? Like you stop
right.
sweating all the stuff that you used to sweat about when you're really engaged and really kind of locked down on it. And I think that's where Kirby's at. So I think he's ready to move on, look for a different challenge, do a little different thing. And but I mean, they've got to fix that portal thing because, like, for Ohio State to have to make portal decisions, both on players coming in and going out of the program while you're preparing for a college football playoff. I mean, look, you're right. For teams that are never going to make the college football playoff, this makes
Yeah,
perfect sense. And the problem is there's a lot of them. The
right,
130
right. Yeah,
130 teams in college football, how many of them do you think realistically have a shot at the 12-team playoff? 30,
yeah.
maybe,
If that, yeah,
if that. So that just the math of that leaves 100 that don't give a hoot. You know what I'm saying? That are
right.
never they're never ever going to be inconvenienced by a January portal window, and that's problematic because and maybe they're saying, well, hey guys, that's just kind of your payback for being great. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know how they're gonna figure this thing out. But I don't like the math on that because I do think it's like 100 to 30 on this issue because a lot of teams are just not affected by it. But man, for Ohio State, that's you want to effectuate, bring in good guys in, continue to do that. To have to do that, at that time, man, it's challenging. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, it is. So hopefully, I'm hoping for the best. Either way, Ohio State's going to be all right. Ohio State fans, we're always going to encourage you to embrace the consistency of the Ohio State program and lean on that as far as trust. Because to me, again, I'm not a worry wart. You know what I'm saying? I look at the information that's presented to me and hey, if it's this is what the data says, this is what the track record says. So I'm going to lean into that. I'm a positive dude, but I'm not. There's some people who are just diddly do neighbor. They're just positive just because they just want to be positive, and that's cool. I'm a positive dude, but I'm not just positive just because I'm just putting my head in the sand and I want to avoid negativity. A big part of me is I'm logical, logic, reason, facts, and we have overwhelming amounts of that here at the Ohio State University to remain consistently positive. Hence why I'm so positive. And so that's why I'm always encouraging to, enjoy the games. Don't be miserable. If anybody has no reason to be miserable, it's us. You know what I'm saying? So just want to kind of give you some behind the scenes on the messaging that we have here at Buckeye Scoop, because me and Nevada and the whole Scoop family, we're on the same page.
Well, so now, gun to your head, who do we get the flips? Who do you think flips to Ohio State in the center? I want B Moses to look into the B Moses crystal ball and look at that, and you understand if you say this, we're going to hold you to this. And if you're wrong,
Oh, Jesus.
we're going to publicly mock you forever and ever if you miss on any of this. So you got to get these exactly right. Who does B Moses think that Ryan
Mm.
Day is thinking that he's going to land?
Ah, curse you, Nevada, for doing this to me. Because my heart again, I'm a big Braylon Womack guy. I don't. It's not just about the kid because he's really good, but the Buckeye Scoop family, specifically Buckeye boys, have had a great relationship with the family, and he's just a great culture fit. So a part of my heart is saying I hope and wish, but I know I'll say this: we know that Braylon wants to be a Buckeye. Things didn't work out thus far with that. So I'm going to call Braylon coming back to Ohio State. I can see that as a flip. And then I think this kid, Danny Odom, the corner committed to Nebraska, I'm going to call him too. That's all I'm going to call. I don't know about Luke Waffle and your boy Rocket. What's his last name? Elbert or what's
Elbert
his name?
Hill or
Yeah.
Samote Katawanga.
Yes, Samote Kalawanga. I see him here on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know about them. I don't know because Nevada, the USC, the LA. I think some kids are just so enchanted by the Los Angeles life or the perception of that life that maybe that just kind of locks them in, getting away from the cold Midwest to fabulous LA with all the stars. I don't know, but those are the two I'm gonna call. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I sure hope so, especially with Walmart. What you got? Who you got?
I'm Womack, Odom, Waffle. I'm calling those three.
Okay.
I think we get those three. I really do. I think that, and that's based upon a combination of how close Ohio State was the first time, how much the frequency of ongoing communications with them are this time, and my perception of how big the difference was in NIL, and if we could close that gap. That's the thing. I think those three guys, I think those three guys are Buckeyes come December, and I think we finish with a Alabama type of push at the end and move up. Even though I like our 2026 class right now.
Yeah.
I like our 2026 class right. So I am definitely not one of those people that's like, oh, we have to do this or I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be happy either way. I don't ever sweat recruiting ever since prior comma Terrell went to Ohio State. I don't worry about recruits anymore, man, because I know that we're always going to be fine. But I'll predict that those will be the three, and if I miss on one of those, you can publicly mock me and be you can make up a little meme that'll be Moses with my head on it and just be like, Nevada was wrong. Nevada was wrong. It's just like,
Attack.
on September 8th, he was wrong. He predicted something and it didn't happen. To attack him.
Oh man. And people will be off for that
Oh
crazies.
god. Oh.
But anyway, but yeah, so yeah. I mean, listen, these kids, and I don't understand why some of them commit when they commit because there's so much like conflict and turmoil in some of these decisions, but they feel like they need to make them at that time. And so we're gonna see. We're gonna see when the landscape starts to reveal themselves, when the Auburns and the Floridas and those schools start showing who they really are. And here's Ohio State standing on the mountain, beaming, as beautiful as they are. We'll see. We shall see. Got a super chat we'll get to, and then we'll bang out of here. Johnny, uh, Joe Daho. Yeah, thanks for the 199. Steve DeAce is stupid. Ignore him. I don't know the context of this comment, but I agree that, yeah, when he's being stupid, I ignore him. I definitely agree with this notion, Johnny. You are spot on with this analysis. Nevada, what you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of an observation to all Michigan fans, and I'll just use this as just a quick segue to. I love how the Michigan fans have kind of all with all that talk about the Joey Velasquez and oh he was ineligible and this and that, and then
Oh,
Tom Mars comes out and slams them and reminds them that they're going to be subject to defamation suits, and then everything just stopped dead in its tracks. I mean, stuff people are throwing around wild stuff. They're putting our name on stuff, but and we're like, guys, you guys realize you have exposure. If you keep
yeah,
this, if you say this one more time, you have legal exposure. And you know what? Now they're shutting up because they realize like you can't just say so. There are consequences for just saying stuff. And if I'm Joey, if you hear this, my voice, I would sue those guys already. I would go after
yeah,
Mr. T. I would go after all those writers over at that site. I'd go after every single one of them, so I would bankrupt them. So you could find an Ohio lawyer that'll take this. Call Nate Stuckey in Dayton. Nate is the best personal injury defamation lawyer in the world. He will take the case and kill them. So just go get them, guy. You should just get those guys because they defamed you, dude, and you're a non-public figure. There's no reason for them to do that. There's no reason
right.
for them to go after you like that. Go get those guys.
Better call Saul, baby.
Yes.
So real quick, and as we end out here with Michigan fans, listen, bro, it's so funny, man. Last night, I made a meme. I made an Uncle Rico meme, and I posted JJ McCarthy's halftime stats. Right? I know you saw that, and it had like a burning trash can on it. and it just said JJ McCarthy's halftime stats, and it had like a face like this. And so Michigan fans, even now on my Facebook page where I posted it, are just going insane. I mean, I hurt their feelings so bad, Nevada. I got them, some of them threatening me. They're sending threats. They're just telling me to go play in traffic. I mean, they are so angry at me for an Uncle Rico meme. They are so
Oh yeah.
sensitive and they're
Oh my
so
gosh.
insecure. And in the thread, they're just on there trying to convince us that they didn't cheat and that everything they did is legit. They are so insecure about their fake natty. It's ridiculous. This Joey Velasquez stuff is just another harebrained scheme to try to justify their cheating. It's so easy to trigger scum fans. Real quick, this is from the board that Uncle T posts on. This is from earlier today. Paging Tachman at Tachman. That's the thread title. Tachman is Uncle T on that board. It
Mr.
says,
T.
so, Mr. T.
Mr.
It
T.
says, so what's happening? Anything new to report? Next comment. It's been awfully quiet as of late. And then a follow-up post. It says, clearly he got a cease and desist and doesn't want to get sued. That's the comments that was sent to me. And I just laughed. I'm like, yeah, it has been quiet. Mars coming out like he did. Just like, yo, y'all, you know, we're done with this. Unless you want to travel down these dangerous waters, you need to chill out with this ridiculousness. Okay. And that's all it is. So anyway, hilarious stuff. Michigan fans being Michigan. And that's just what they are. That's what they are. Meanwhile,
I love how insecure they are. Because think about it. Is there anything they could say to you about Ohio State that would make you insecure? Like
no,
anything that would no. Like
no.
what could they say?
What? Like what?
Like
What?
what? Yeah. Oh,
Like,
we beat you last year. Yeah, you did.
yeah,
That's great. We won
yeah,
the Natty.
right,
Thank you. Thank you for
right.
beating us. And, I mean, like there's nothing but they are the most insecure bunch of man. You criticize JJ McCarthy.
Oh,
How could it be? You criticize Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, Sharon Moore. You don't think Bryce Underwood is the greatest quarterback of all time. They are so insecure. I've never seen, dude. You can say anything you want about Ohio State. You say you don't like Caleb Downs, you don't like JJ, whatever. I don't
yeah.
care. You think Julian Saints too small? Great. I don't care. I mean, what can you say? But I mean, that's when you got them. That's when you know that you've got them because they are an insecure bunch. But I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, it's too easy. And like I said, that thread, I was just, you should delete this. I'm like, well, actually, no. My engagement for this post has tripled because your butt hurt. Like on social media for my page, engagement is a big deal for me. So what would have lasted 2 hours if he lost if the Bears didn't be the Bears, and and didn't get a phantom PI call to
Oh my
help
gosh.
aid it in the run game. He threw a couple passes that any NFL quarterback should throw in those situations. And if that didn't happen, that post would have probably lasted for 2 hours. We laugh, but now it's lasting a whole 24 hours. More engagement. That's good for me. Why would I delete that? I don't care if JJ McCarthy wins a game in lucky fashion against the hapless Bears. Can he sustain that for a season? We'll
Uh,
see. But y'all are stupid. Like, ain't nobody tripping off of JJ McCarthy winning last night. I don't care. Anyway, it's just Michigan fans are dumb. So, but somebody said in the chat, it's a deflection. They're looking for something to cling to after that Oklahoma loss. That's a win for them. JJ McCarthy won for us last night. No, you bums got more losses coming. Buckle up. Hold on to your butt, scum fans. But anyway.
no, but you're right.
Anyway.
You're exactly right. They're looking for anything. But anyway, great show, B Moses. This was so much fun. And
Yeah.
I don't want you to be insecure about being an Ohio State fan. I want you to stay strong, man. Stay strong. Don't be up. If I criticize CJ Stroud, man, it's not about you personally. It's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I wish I could reach my couches over there and reach my national championship pillow to show y'all once again how I sleep at night. I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
But anyway, cool. Definitely a fun show as always. Love y'all, Scoop family, Buckeye Nation. We will see y'all again tomorrow. Peace.